Good evening. It is Thursday, November 21st, and this is the meeting of the Budget Committee. And tonight we're going to be discussing the budget of the library and police and communications.
Guys.
You join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. And Steve, if you could handle that for me, I appreciate it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Town Manager, do you have anything you want to talk to us about before we start?
No, I understand your first two meetings went off well. Tonight you have the library here with a trustee, and you have the police with their commissioners. I'll kick the budget off once we're ready to go, and then Allison will be able to answer questions you have specific to the library.
Okay, just before we start, there's been a lot of things on Facebook about the tax rate, and a lot of things are not really accurate. At some point during our deliberation, can you present a little presentation on how the tax rate works and how they came up with it and things like that so people can better understand it?
Sure, I will absolutely put together a quick presentation for your next budget meeting specific to the town tax rate.
Thank you very much. Any comments from the public or questions? No? Okay. Okay. Welcome.
So the library's budget, the overall budget is up from last year, $36,833 or 6%, and Allison will be able to speak to those increases.
Allison, can you just introduce yourself? I think some of the members, have I met you before?
Sure, Allison Rutley, I'm the director here. I've been here, I think, 16 months now. It's been huh?
And we love her.
I like what she said. Yes, it's been a great transition for me. I love it up here. I love the library. I love the people here. And it's been a great 14 years.
Thank you.
John,
Yes, sir.
this is also a great place for us to meet, so thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's start off with the 100 series. Uh, 200 series. $300 series.
Question, Jim?
Yes, sir.
Line 360. I have a question on the custodial cleaning services. It looks like a pretty huge number.
It is.
The question I want to ask you is the community center and you using the same vendor?
Not to my knowledge. We have, in the last year, we got a resignation from our custodian, and we brought in the cleaning service. It's a local cleaning service from Wolfeboro. We have not coordinated. We've talked about coordinating with the police and fire department to see if maybe a cleaning service could be something that we could do as a consolidated
That, I guess, is
endeavor.
that's my question.
Yes.
I really would like us to use the same vendors across the board if we could, if they're doing the same kind of work. It doesn't make sense to me to have different vendors out there. And did we do an RFP on the cleaning services and get a quote and all that stuff before we entered into this?
No, well, the library is a little bit a different
Animal.
creature than the town proper itself, where they tend to run their own operations, and we cut them checks quarterly for such.
So the trustees would have probably been involved in this? The library trustees?
Yes. In actually, yes.
Can decide
Hiring
that
them,
we're going
yes,
to use
yes.
the cleaning service and these numbers and all?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
But this is also offset by part-time wages, is that correct?
That's correct. So we lost the custodian that we had for part-time, and we now have her off our salary and benefits listing. So you can deduct 16,000 from that.
Okay.
However, with the actual
Okay, so the
use of our
offset's
building.
$16,000 roughly. Okay, thank you.
I just want to, so on line 360, so we're going from a relatively, it's 360 outside custodial services, right? So we're now going up to 34,000, and we have 16,000 offset. That's still 15,000 as compared to 6,000. So that just, I want to revisit on that. That seems to me we need to do something different. Not sure what the difference is, but that just seems like a $15,000 increase that came out of nowhere.
Well, the use of this building is very high,
Mm-hmm.
so we really need to keep our,
No, I'm not disputing that point. I'm just looking at the numbers
I
only,
understand.
and I'm just saying that's a big jump, and I'd like to revisit that at some point with some kind of commentary to it, what you figured out as far as that goes.
Are you talking about coordination within,
Whatever, as it stands there, the way it is now, I would say I would want to make some kind of adjustment to that.
just,
What we're basically talking about is $630 a week to clean the library.
that's correct,
Is that,
That's
that's
right.
what I'm saying.
yes.
And it's, the community center is $80, much smaller area, I understand, times the 52, so
Profits.
that I think is where I'm coming from, and I think that's where Steve is coming from. $80 to do the community center, and if you did it on a square foot basis, I suppose the community center might be 5 times smaller than this. So, I just, the rationale,
I understand.
Yep.
Our usage is very high with children, and we have a lot of the public coming in just to use our restrooms and whatnot, but
Okay.
a lot of our issues have to do with the children and the children's home.
okay, thank you, Jim.
I came in and one day, you guys said you use a rumba to clean
I
the room in here.
I do, yeah.
Your pants?
I'm sorry, Nancy, I didn't introduce you. You're one of the trustees, Nancy Bell. I apologize. Okay, 400 series? Yes.
Electricity, on an annualized basis, it looks to be about $9,300. Is there a big jump in the last 2 months of the year that would drive the 15.5?
Yeah. So with the library, because we don't do their books for them, they're a month behind. And if you recall, or maybe you don't, but the Board of Selectmen wouldn't realize this, we went to some new utility billing software. So that's probably not really 9 months of activity. It's probably more like 6.
Oh, okay, thank you.
John?
Yes, sir.
Also, I believe this building is, for HVAC, is a heat pump, as opposed to, it used to have an oil-fired heating system. So that would probably be the reason why the hike in electricity prices since the library was built, because of, as you can see, the line below it is heat and oil is all zero now. So this is probably just all HVAC numbers.
Thank you. Let's move on. 400 series, the next page.
435, John?
Yes, sir.
Two things, miscellaneous repairs is $6,000. Is that just a dart throw, what is it? I don't see that much money being spent over the course of time.
Well, we've had a lot of issues. We've had in the last, I would say the last year was our water, the water heater went. We had issues with our HVAC, which was 15,000. We've had a lot of issues with just general 4 or 5 years of continuity with our systems, and they kind of broke down a little bit. So we were kind of making a guesstimate of what we thought that it would be for the next year.
Mhm.
We might be a little high. I'd rather be high than low.
Okay, the next thing is the carpet cleaning. Doesn't the custodian, the $4,500, is that carpet cleaning, is that apart from the custodial services?
Yes. It's separate, so when you have your carpets cleaned, it's different from having just a general.
Okay, so that's not the week-to-week, about the week-to-week. Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd make a motion to change this 435 line from 23,501 to 20,000. 3-year average is 14,000. 3 years, because if I took 5 years, it's an aberration. The last 3 years have been relatively level at 14. So I'd like to change that line to 20,000.
I'd second that.
Second, okay. You want to defend a little bit better why you need that extra money?
So are we looking at the 6,000 that you're asking to?
Just the overall is coming down $3,501.
Actually, you know, as a building gets older, you have issues. So we've actually seen them in the last year. We had to do many adjustments here for water, HVAC. We had issues with our doors, with our motion detectors. We've also had issues with our fire. So I guess that, you know, it is a guesstimate, and I respect that. You want to adjust that. However, I'd rather be judicious in my judgment of what I think might happen at this.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Any other questions before we vote? Okay, this would be a roll call vote to reduce line 435 to $20,000. Leanne, would you please do that?
Brian Black,
Yes.
Bob Tupper,
Yes.
Tom Bell,
Yes.
Bob Mulholland.
Yes.
Matt Flash,
Yes.
Bob Lohman,
Yes.
Steve Johnson,
Yes.
Brian DeShays,
Yes.
and John McDonald.
Yes.
Unanimous,
Okay, so 435 is now $20,000 and
9-0.
not 23,501. The computer maintenance, do you have enough money in there? I know those get a lot of use and everything.
I think we're good with yes, I think we're good with that. We actually have adjusted a lot of our vendors and their contracts with us.
Okay.
Mike Babylon has done a tremendous job of renegotiating with all of our vendors, and I think we're very comfortable with that number.
Just before we move on, I forgot to mention the Friends of the Library. How much do they donate usually a year? Do you have any idea? I know they do a lot for us.
They give us laptops. I come back to the town for technology and our PCs, but they do give us laptops.
They provide the laptops for
They
the
do.
library?
They
Okay,
do.
thank you so much. Thank you, Friends. Okay, 500? 600? Yes, Tom?
670 with the books and periodicals, again, the annualized, and I don't know if it's the same issue of timing, but that would be $43,000 annualized and looking for 55,000. Is that a timing issue with what's been spent in '24 as well?
Yes. So at the end of the year, we have a huge, so in December, we'll have a big out to the New Hampshire Library Association in order to pay for our downloadable books.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
It usually generates about $12,000 to them. We have not received that yet, and that's all within our usage budget. As you probably got, as you see, the circulation usage for online resources has jumped tremendously in the last year, which is a cultural shift.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on from the 600, 700. 800. What's the line there, the operating funds to library? What is that was in 2024? It's not in 2025.
Will you repeat that question, please?
The line,
Operating funds to library.
yeah,
So at the beginning, may I?
Oh, of course.
At the beginning of the year, the library can demand all their funds, but the arrangement is that at the beginning of the year, I give them all their operating budgeted money and keep their payroll money and benefits, because we run their payroll and benefits. And so that is the difference of money that I gave them minus what they hadn't spent yet.
okay.
So that by the end of the year, it's supposed to come to zero, or there'll be a little extra there, but it is all their money to keep and do what they want with, because it's budgeted for them.
So that amount of money, you write a check to the library, is that because the budget's too high, we overestimated the budget, or?
No, they just haven't used it. So say I
Okay.
gave them 120 at the beginning of the year, they've only used 10 every month, so they still have 77 more. As she
Okay.
just said, she's got a big book, or on whatever she said, 12,000 coming out, so
Okay.
she hasn't spent all the money. The library has not spent all the money yet, or accounted for it to us.
Correct. And December is a big outlay of cash for
Okay.
us.
The pay raises for the employees, they comparable to what the town manager is gonna recommend for non-union people?
Yes.
Thank you. Any other questions for the library budget? Thanks for coming in, folks.
Thank you.
Have a nice Thanksgiving.
You too.
Thanks, Allison.
Thank you
Thank you.
very much.
Thanks for setting up. Are you gonna stick around to unset?
Do I have to?
Just kidding, my friend.
Casey, are you leaving also?
No, I'm just changing seats.
Okay.
She's putting the big guys in the middle.
These guys intimidate me.
Getting a better view.
Yeah, you.
So you have the police department in front of you next. We will be going through the police department, the communications, and animal control. Police department budget, proposed $2,182,028, down $12,780, or 0.6%. The police commission and staff will be able to speak to the budget.
Okay. Commissioner Wood, welcome. Chief, sir. I don't know if everyone's met everyone at the table, so maybe we can just go down the line. Down the line, up the
I'm in the
line.
middle, so somebody else is starting.
Jim Pinio, town manager.
Thank you, Jim.
Mark Levy, Captain. Chris Warren, I've met most of you, I haven't met you all, I hope to remedy that soon. Chief of Police. Steve Wood, Police Commission.
Sherry Moore, Executive Admin. Mia Lyons, Communications Supervisor.
Thank you, everyone. Chief, you want to tell the department how it's going?
I'm sorry?
You want to give an overview or just tell the public how the department's going, how it's functioning, how everything's?
I'd love to.
You've only got a couple hours, so.
I could do that.
Okay, good.
I would have brought pictures. As I'm sure the committee knows, I was appointed February 1st of this year. And this is actually my first time presenting a budget or working with these folks, presenting a budget to the board at its beginning. So I come from another community where I retired as chief of police, where the budget committee and the select board were one group. And yeah, it was an adventure. But coming back to Wolfeboro, Wolfeboro is the police department is in a lot of change. There was some tumult in the organization. I had been working with the police commission on a part-time basis, if you recall, working through some of the concerns in the police department. As of February 1st, upon the after an interim time with former Chief Chase, I was offered and accepted the full-time position as police chief. Over the past 10 or so months that I've been here, we've seen a lot of change. We've seen some personnel come, we've seen some personnel leave. My job is far from done here. I am spending a lot of time with, and I'm sure this brings you great relief, the budget, what we spend money on, how we move through the community, our connection with the community, both the residents, the business owners, and the visitors that come to Wolfeboro, as well as the challenges that we have in the community, not just the criminal ones, but the motor vehicle challenges that we see every day, and the personnel issues that we are dealing with every day. So I guess as a current look at things, it's a work in progress. I have positive feelings. I think the town is amazing as far as the reception that not only I, but the rest of my colleagues here in the police department have received from the public and from several of the board in front of me. Very welcoming, very positive. You keep a really good attitude as far as always looking forward and never looking back and saying, well, we should do it this way. You're open to that, let's try it this way, because this is probably a better way to do it. And in that regard, I'd say I give the town an A+. I'm hoping that the town will give the police department the same grade soon enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, 100 series. Jim, does this reflect any negotiations on the raises?
So, excellent point. We are currently in negotiations with 2 collective bargaining units. So, relative to hourly wages, the hourly wages will be a standalone warrant article. We have not come to the point of ratifying an agreement yet. Once we do that, adjustments will come in front of you for non-union staff.
Okay, this may be a dumb question, so if we include that money right now in the budget, and it's also going to be in a warrant article, are we looking like 2 different numbers?
No, so the union staff will be reflected in the hourly.
Okay.
The non-union staff would be the supervisory. So the hourly wages would be the ones that are reflected in that standalone warrant article.
Okay. Okay,
I've got a question.
yes, sir.
Jim, could you give me a breakdown? I'm looking at salaries and so on and so forth, and I'm looking at wages, and then I'm looking at the other benefits. And when I'm looking at those, I'd love to hear your explanation of when these fellas and gals receive a paycheck, do they have any deductions on their check? For instance, is there deduction for Social Security or FICA, which I'm sure there is, and others? And so these others, for instance, so health insurance, dental insurance, life and disability insurance, I'm not sure what this, unemployment insurance, so that adds up to a pretty sizable chunk of benefits. And I'd love to hear someone run me through how that's paid for. Is there a participant paying part of that? Is that just a benefit? I'd also love to hear at retirement, when does retirement start? And if that's a discussion for later on, I'd love to hear that too. But I'd like to understand the workings of this whole process as far as pay and benefits.
Sure.
Because I've yet to understand that for me.
So I'll try to give you a 30,000-foot view without getting too much into the weeds. So as you look, for example, on page 6, it lays out employee's name, rate, hours per week, weeks per year. It's broken 13, 13, and 26 to equal our 52 weeks. Rationale for the 13 weeks is a couple of things. One, we traditionally make our wage adjustments in the 13 weeks, week 13. Traditionally, the New Hampshire retirement system and the health care adjustments occur at the 26 week. So that's why you see those two numbers reflected that way, and then the 26 is just the final rollout of the year. When you look at other compensation, there is on the following pages of, I believe it's page 10 and 11, that gives you a breakdown of what the other compensation may be. So for example, that could be length of service stipend, that could be holiday pays for officers who are off duty or on duty. So those are what make up other compensation. I believe there's also, with this particular collective bargaining agreement, education stipends. So those are all inclusive in that. Phone stipend, that's what it is, it's a phone stipend. FICA Medicare, that's absorbed by the town. Retirement, so retirement for the town is broken really into 3 packages. One for police employees, which is, the town's portion is approximately 30%. One for fire, which is approximately 30%, and one for any other employee, which I believe is around 13%. The employee does contribute on top of that as well. I believe it's around 13% is what the employee's contribution to that is.
So is that taken off the paycheck?
That is taken off of their annual wages.
Okay.
Health insurance is factored based on really 2 models. You have either the what's called a green plan or a red plan, okay? And it's based on whether it's a family, single person, or 2-person plan. That equates to what the cost of the plan is. The employee is responsible for 10% of that plan. Same with the dental. As far as life, disability insurance, employment compensation, workers' compensation, those are absorbed by the town.
Okay, so question. So on the health insurance and the dental insurance, just taking a figure, say if you take a $200 figure. So as it relates to this, so 10% of whatever that figure is for whatever the employee, 10% is what would be his or her contribution.
Correct.
Okay. So that would be taken off of individual paychecks. If I'm looking at a paycheck, you'd have health insurance, and it'd be 10%. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's taken out weekly, itemized weekly.
Okay. Okay.
And one correction, the FICA and Medi, we do pay half, but we match. The
Okay.
employees also pay
Thank you
their
for
own
the
FICA and
clarification.
Medi.
Yeah, that's traditional. So
Okay,
yeah,
so-
so
okay.
you each pay 50%
Yes.
basically.
Does that kind of answer a little bit of your question?
It does. It does.
Perfect.
One other question. Retirement.
Yep.
When is someone eligible for retirement? And when do they start receiving that retirement? And what is our unfunded liability for retirement?
So we as a town, as my understanding, have no unfunded liability. It's the state of New Hampshire.
Okay.
Okay. There was changes made to the New Hampshire retirement system in 2011. Prior to the 2011 timeframe, for fire and police, it was 45 years old with 20 years of service, and I believe you could collect 55% of the best 36 months. However, there have been changes to that effective 2011, and I believe those changes are now 25 years and 55 years old for police and fire. Relative to other employees, I believe that one is 60 years old with a minimum of 20 years of service, and you collect a percentage of
30 years.
the time, and that, however they equate that out.
And is that retirement, is that a defined benefit program, or is that a, depending upon how long it's been active, in like a 401K?
No, it's defined.
Defined.
Type 1 is, or level 1 is 30 years.
It's 30 years in group, what they call
Group
Group 1, which is regular employees, not fire employees.
Unless your grandfather.
Thanks.
Yep.
I got something.
Yes, sir, go ahead, Bob.
So, Jim, getting back to page 6. Now, I'm just gonna pick, I'm not gonna pick on any particular person, but I'm just gonna pick a number out. On the health insurance, 43,001. I'm assuming that's the 90% factor for a family policy?
Correct.
Okay, so, it would be 43,001 plus 10% for the total cost of a family health insurance policy. So if that's, so I guess you add about close to $4,000 or $5,000.
$4,300.
Yeah, so each employee at the 10% factor is probably having close to $400 a month coming out of their checks, on top of retirement and Social Security, Medicare. So they gotta, everybody who works for the town who has health insurance coverage is getting a healthy slice of their check taken out, so.
Happens to everybody, but,
Oh, I know,
so,
that's it for me.
if you can get the insurance.
Steve, just to follow up on the retirement, if you stay in Group 2, they don't take out for Social Security. So if you do your whole career with no Social Security, you just get your retirement, the regular retirement, that's all.
Right.
And I don't think there's been a COLA for probably 24, 25 years. You've been retired, you've received a COLA from your... and then they have a penalty through Social Security. If you do have enough quarters, whatever, to qualify, the maximum you can lose is $550 a month from your Social Security because of you having the defined benefit. But there's a bill that just passed the U.S. House that's gone to the Senate to get rid of that. I don't know if that's going to go through or not. And the way I look at it, we're trying to change the system back because I think that's having a big effect on hiring people. You know, and we've lost some people. You could be like you're vested at 10 years, so you could be 9 years, 11 months, and 27 days, and now the legislature passes a law, and now you've got to work 5 more years to get your same benefit, where if you've been 3 more days later, you could retire at age 20, age 45, so.
Yeah.
I just got a quick question for the salaries, the 100 salaries for the supervisor and the one other employee. Do those reflect what you're gonna be for raises for next year?
No.
Okay. So it's done by an MOU or something? You MOUs, still have MOUs?
It's a and/or statement, I believe, and since the and/or hasn't been figured out, the raise is not in there for them. Do you understand, was I vague there? Because the negotiations, contract hasn't been done and the town hasn't set their rate, we don't know what to put in.
We
based on
typically
that.
follow the guidance of the Board of Selectmen with non-union personnel,
Okay.
but yeah, there is that, I think it was coined way back, the favored nations clause,
Yeah.
that during a negotiation, if, we'll say that the police union gets a 4%, and the selectmen's do a 3.5%, that people with an MOU could get the 4%.
Okay.
We're working towards changing that back over
Okay.
time.
So can we get the updated numbers when that's all settled?
Once it's settled, yeah, you will
Appropriate,
have
accurate
it.
and everything? Okay,
Absolutely.
thanks.
It won't be for a bit. Our next meetings aren't until the first week in December, and we're still a ways away.
Okay.
So, I have a question. So who's at the negotiations, Jim? I mean, who represents the town? Is that you, or is that Casey, or?
It's myself, it's the
And the
chief, the captain. We also have one police commissioner, 2 board of selectmen, and a HR coordinator and our town attorney.
Who's the HR coordinator? Is
Michelle
that
Chamberlain.
for HR for the town?
Yeah,
How many is that altogether? 7?
I think it's 7.
And you guys all vote on whether to accept the,
So we sit down and we strategize our negotiations, and we negotiate our path, hopeful to land in our range of a goal that we have established.
but there's a final vote by everyone that's there on the
No.
So,
negotiation team? or-
no, what ends up happening, that goes to the Board of Selectmen for ratification.
Okay.
You guys just come to a tentative agreement,
yeah,
and the
okay.
board's the only one who makes that decision.
I believe Kevin
So if the
Duffy.
board rejects the agreement, then you go back to the. Just asking questions.
Yep.
Just want to know the process.
Nope, good question. Same thing if it gets to the town meeting and it's voted down, we would have to go back into negotiations.
But also the other side of the negotiation team has to go back to their unit, and they also could have a fail or pass.
Mhm.
So both sides of the negotiation go back and hopefully get 2 affirmatives and then come back.
I believe from the commission, it's Kevin Duffy is
Correct.
representing.
John?
Yes, sir.
Jim, does the collective bargaining encompass all the benefits, paid time off, vacations, holidays? Are there any areas that conflict with town policy?
As we're in active negotiations, I'd really rather not answer that question.
Okay, all right. I'm just wondering whether that was part of.
Trust me, we
encompassed.
put into place a new personnel policy about 4 months ago, and we're trying to create alignment.
Okay.
I'd just like to say one more thing. The New Hampshire retirement system is not a voluntary thing either. Every employee has to be part of it, so it's not like I can opt out of it. I think only the town manager can do that.
Correct.
So as far as a New Hampshire employee, be it police, fire, or town, you only have the New Hampshire retirement program, you don't, so nobody on police, fire, and town does social security, or yes?
Oh, no, just the police and fire don't do social, but all the others, the town people do.
Okay, why is that? What?
Because of what John just said, where they have a higher contribution into the New Hampshire retirement system because it was set up so that they wouldn't get social security.
Okay.
I mean, they still can if they have second jobs or whatever, but that is the model that was set up.
Okay, so, actually, all these numbers may be off a little bit, depending on what you get negotiate, you know. things
Yeah,
like that.
I would say most supervisory, this particular budget, supervisory, clerical, are probably off. Part-time employees probably off, but
And say they used to be like different money for shifts, that number may change also, right? I think there's one money.
that
dollars
could
for
change as
whatever.
part of the collective bargaining agreement, and if it is, that'll be a line item within the
Change.
collective bargaining warrant article.
Okay, thank you.
Another question, looking at, I get the part about supervisory salaries and hourly wages, but then I see part-time wages, and then I see overtime, and then I see other compensation, which, rough figures, you're looking at, somewhere close to 300,000. And I'm just wondering, so, how does that play out into compensation to the officers? I mean, that's a fairly good chunk of money that's in the budget. I'm just trying to understand, I'm looking at the salaries and so on and so forth, I get that. But, so if I'm looking at taking any one individual officer, there's a potential that he's gonna get a decent amount more in a year basis, based on the figures that I'm looking at. So help me understand part-time wages, overtime, and other compensation.
Chief, that's all you.
I think I'll allow the captain to move on it.
Yeah, so I'll start with overtime. If you go to page 9,
Page 9.
a couple years ago, I broke it down to how overtime is as close as we can get it to what it's usually going out as holiday. That's officers that work on the holiday. They get paid the overtime.
Mm-hmm.
So that comes out to a roughly in that ballpark of 37,516. Then you get shift coverage. What we do is Sherry Moore here, she has a 5-year, is it 5-year? 5-year average of shift coverage for our department on covering the open shifts, vacations, training, variable different ways that you would cover a shift. That usually comes out to that line, 53,000 in the
And
ballpark.
that would include 3 open positions for
Yeah.
any open position for a patrolman.
Correct. Yep. We have court, investigations, training. Other is, I could keep breaking it down, but.
No, I can see that.
Kinda
So
put that in there.
I get the 154,
Yep.
but that's the overtime. What about
Yeah, so other
compensation?
other compensation, you have shift differential, which is in their contract, the union. So they get paid different, certain amount during the night shift and the midnight shift. I believe it's, what, 150, 175?
$152.
And so we broke that out by the shifts.
Right.
So that's what's gonna be spent for the year, right there. Based on their union contract, again, they have a buyout for their compensatory. So depending during the week, if they take their overtime, they could actually comp their overtime and then bank it for
What do
the
you
end
mean,
of the week. So,
I'm not getting comment.
Yeah. So if they get, so
Say
let's,
so I can understand it.
yeah, so say they work 5 hours extra during a week,
Okay.
and it's overtime. So they'll take that 5 hours, times it by 1.5, and then whatever that is.
And that's above and beyond. So if someone works an 8-hour shift
Yep.
or whatever, and then there's an hour one day and then 2 hours or 3 hours the next day. That's
Correct.
kind of what. Okay.
Yeah.
Got
So
it.
then they can comp it into a comp bank,
Okay.
instead of actually taking the overtime money.
Okay.
And then they can use it as vacation later,
So,
or at the end of the year, they can get paid out to 40 hours, is it correct?
Correct, 40 hours of straight time.
A straight time. So that's where that would come out of. So we average that out, we estimate what, by all the officers that we do have, what they've been doing for the last 5 years, and we kind of average that out and come out with it. So it's kind of a guessing game there. And then the holiday straight pay, this is all the officers that get holiday pay for the year. So we get paid 12 holidays, and that's what's gonna come out to.
Oh, so the holiday, that's not included in the salaries necessarily.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's where your other compensation, what was the other line you were
So
talking?
is that like separate? I mean, I'm just trying to understand why you wouldn't just put the holidays in the salary. Why don't you do that?
well, it's base pay, but they get an additional for holiday. So my holiday is in my base pay because I don't get an additional, where you do, you get double technically, right? Because you're working it and
Yeah.
taking it, that's the difference. So most other or town people, you know, that's part of my annual base wage. But in their case, they get an additional holiday pay,
Okay.
And what was the other line?
part-time.
Part-time? So part-time wages, so we have right now Timothy Morgan, which is our prosecutor, and that's his salary under the part-time wages. And Andrew Shigori, who's our investigator, and that's his part-time wages. So those are the only two in the part-time. We got, flip the page, Mr. Walensky, Bernie, and then he's in the part-time too.
Okay, thanks, Chief.
Jim, I just got a,
Captain, beg your pardon.
Thanks, Captain.
Jim, I just got a quick question for you. Since the warrant article includes budgetary raises for the union, shouldn't that, since the shift differential and the buyout, since that's part of the contract, shouldn't that money be included in the warrant article?
No, because it's already agreed upon. So if we do not ratify a contract, they're getting that anyways. What would be included in the warrant article is if there's any increase to shift differential.
It would be the difference of what they.
Okay, so if the warrant article, I don't want to say what you know the bad thing that happens to
Yep.
it. So if that happens, the current contract stays in existence? Okay, thanks. So they're not voting on the whole contract, you're just voting on the raise? Whatever raise is in the warrant.
No, you're voting on the whole contract. But if that contract doesn't pass, the old one remains in existence.
Okay, if we're voting on the whole contract, then I don't see why that money shouldn't be included in the total. Where it says total cost for the contract is $27,000, $37,000, because that's a money figure.
It's only the difference. So if their salary goes up 2,000, you'd count the 2,000. If shift differential went up, you'd cover just the differential. But if not, they're still gonna get paid their old salary before it was up. So the contract, really the cost is not the whole contract cost, it's the additional cost items that we're negotiating.
Okay, so the shift differential went up $1, that should be included in the,
The buck would, not the $1.50 and the 2 that they're already getting.
okay, thank you.
And that's the warrant article that we vote on as members, that, okay, then that's that whole thing. And again, this is my problem from way back when, and I've always abstained and or voted no on that warrant article, because the budget committee has never been part of the negotiations. So all we get is a figure, and we've never even had a chance to do any kind of discussion at that level. And that's why I'll continue to vote no on that warrant article, and, because it flies in the face of, I'm voting on something I never had a part in.
Understood.
So anyway, I just wanted to voice that now,
Understood.
because that's how it's gonna go at the other end as well.
You don't have a part of it, but you definitely can look at the old contract and the new contract and see the difference. You can't, and you can like and not like what's in it, but.
Totally, but I can still also
You
voice
can
the fact that
abstain,
I'd
yeah.
like to be
Yeah.
a part of that.
Steve, you also didn't have a hand in any other department budget that was presented to us, right? You didn't have a say.
But you have a hand in the voicing of how this is all, whether we wanna make a change or not. That's all I'm saying. As far as any kind of change or any kind of questioning, I mean, yes, this is great back and forth as far as what we're doing here, fantastic. But we don't get that as far as like, when we're just presented with something.
Well, we're just presented with every other department budget, you know. we
You
don't
didn't get
have a
any
hand.
say in
Picking
the
it
electric
apart.
purchase power agreement either. They negotiated that with this committee.
Okay, Bob?
But that's another question.
Bob?
We used to, Steve, I think before you got on this committee,
That was way before my time.
that was way. We used to get a summary sheet of what was in the contract. It wasn't the contract itself, it was basically an informational sheet that told us exactly what the changes were. I found that very informational, did I say that right now? And I think it was-
Informative?
Informative,
Yeah,
there you go.
thank you.
That's a good word.
And that might be a good idea. So, at least it's something.
Okay. 200 series. 300?
Question,
Yes, sir.
line 381. Outside services, vehicle maintenance slash tires, 2024, 5,500, jumping to 9,500. What's all that about?
You want me? Aging fleet.
Yeah.
So we have 9 cruisers right now, and our fleet is aging. That's the easiest way to say it.
But my question is, we normally have the maintenance done by the town garage, correct?
Correct. So that's the
But
next
you're-
one.
what I hear you saying is that this is jumping by $4,000 on maintenance not performed by the highway department. Typically, what is that? Tell me what it is.
So the outside service vehicle maintenance that's made, performed, not performed by highway. So a lot of that could be
The parts.
the parts that come
The
in.
entire exhaust systems that we lost on multiple cruisers.
So the work,
Tires have increased a
And they're
little
charged,
bit.
we get charged for. They may put them on, but we have to pay for them.
yeah, the work is done by the garage, but not the parts.
So we don't
and
get
pieces.
charged the work. So it's mostly just the parts that
People
all come
parts
in.
not
So if they have
labor.
to go to Irwin Auto or Ford
Yeah.
to get stuff.
Once in a great while, the town can't do certain things. Doesn't happen often, but it does. And then we gotta bring it down to Ford dealership.
That's
And you
pretty-
have
that's-
one vehicle that,
That's almost
mechanic
double
can't
what it
really
was
touch
last
at
year.
all.
I question that, aging fleet or not.
Correct.
I just question the validity of going up almost double.
Yeah. It's-
I-
Yeah. I wish I had a better answer for you.
It just seems like a large jump, and there's no real explanation for it other than the fact that the fleet is aging.
Yeah, so right now we have, I believe it's 4, I didn't attach it to this, to the budget, that are over 100,000, the vehicles.
They will see it when you do your warrant article
Okay,
presentations
yeah.
correctly,
Yep.
correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So, because we leased 4 vehicles way back in 2016, I think it was. And those vehicles, I mean, they're doing good. The town maintenance and garage have done an excellent job with our cruisers, I'll tell you that much. And they're built a lot better than the sedans that we did have, so the ice doesn't get underneath and the rust isn't getting under there. And we're protecting it a lot better during the winter times with the car washes and that we have with the local car wash.
I'd like to revisit 381.
John, I got one thing on that. The one thing I can say, Bob, is, and the 2023 actual is 11.7, so it does pop up and down.
Okay.
What did you want to do, Bob?
I'll bypass it.
I'm sorry, does that mean it's not on the revisit?
No.
I'll have a revisit. I don't wanna revisit that. I think you're right.
To what end? What do you need?
I'd like
To what end? I'd like to see what
the
they're
detail.
expended to the end of the year, and then some kind of validation of why it's gonna be different next year. That's why.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just a quick question, 380, you've got all traffic solutions moved from communications budget to this budget. What is that all traffic solutions, what is that?
It's our radars. The trailer, the radar trailer that we do
Okay.
have, and all the signs that you see around town.
Okay, thank
So
you.
we just moved into this.
I'm responsible for that. It just made more sense to be here than in
Okay.
communications. so.
I didn't know if you had the trailer hitch or not, they move them around. Okay. Thank you, Chief, let's, 400?
Question,
Yes, sir.
line 430, vehicle maintenance outside vendors.
It should say town garage,
Should say inside.
yeah.
So it's not outside.
Correct.
Thank you.
Which one? I'm sorry, I need to make.
430.
I have another question.
Yes, sir.
While I'm here, line 435. The rentals and leases of the tasers. Year 2 of 5, now, I think I know what happened here, but I'm questioning why it's going from 8604 to $13,880. If we're on year 2, why is the lease increasing?
It's a new lease from our previous one expired. So
The
we,
86 is the default budget number.
and we had the default budget.
So we went into a lease agreement for new leases due to the liability. So we have a 5-year lease right now, and that's the difference. The last tasers that we did have, the 5-year, well, the yearly on the 5-year lease was $88,604,
Yeah.
and the new
That was, what year of that lease?
2023, that was the last payment.
last year was 2023.
Okay, so 2024, I'm seeing 8604, is that not right?
We can't use that because it's a default budget, so we have to keep the default number from 2023.
So the new lease is 13,880, is that what
That is
that's what I'm
correct.
hearing?
Yep.
So if I understand this right, if we looked at the actuals for 2024, you've expended that line based on the new list. You would have expended it, correct?
Yep.
Over-expended that line. Because you were in the new lease at 13,880, but you couldn't budget it that way because of the default budget.
Yes, you can see their budget, their default budget is 8604, and they've spent $13,212 in that line.
Thank you, that answers my question.
And the board did enter into a lease agreement in a public meeting and conducted a line item transfer, I believe.
Okay, fine. Just wanted to make sure we were doing things right.
Okay, we're all set there. Okay, let's go to 600. $635.
Oh.
Were you gonna ask about 635?
No, go ahead, I wasn't.
Just the justification for the almost, well, $13,000 new in the gasoline.
What was that? I'm
The
sorry.
gasoline line item, I'm sorry. Yeah, 635.
Yes. What was the
It's
question?
like 14,000, just shy of $15,000, and you're going up to 25,000. Just was wondering what was going on.
Oh, for this, what we are right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we just used the 5-year average on it.
Okay.
And we reducted it for the 5-year average, 2,415 from last year.
Thank you.
The safety equipment increase, line 680, that's for new hires.
That's correct.
I would like to expand on that a little bit.
Yes, sir.
Line 680. 5-year average is 21,000. 2024 was 21,000. We're jumping it up to 33. I move to change that budget item to 27,000.
Is there a second?
Second.
What line was that again?
680.
680.
No justification on that one, I'm sorry.
Captain, I just got a couple of questions here.
It's a new office.
You're buying, replacing body armor for so many officers each year.
Yes.
So almost $5,000 is of that money.
Yes.
And then there's the full-time officers, that $1,000, that's what they're given to buy their own shoes or boots or shirts and
Correct.
all, and that's all part
That's
of
in
the
the
contract.
It's a contract.
So we're up to just around 20,000.
The big hit for you is that, the third line there, one-time equipment issue,
Right, and then the 12,000, that's to buy probably your gun.
all
and-
this stuff.
And all the other stuff, okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Any other questions?
We try to make use of the equipment that's turned in, obviously.
Yeah.
But as a lot of you know, that's not always going to happen.
Yeah,
We're currently 5 officers down. So this is looking at 3 officers replacement during that year.
yeah, okay.
So the cost of uniforms and such keeps going up as well.
Oh,
as
sure.
I'm sure everybody's aware of as well, so.
So if you didn't have any turnover, we wouldn't be looking at that.
I don't think you'd be looking at as high of amount,
Yeah.
Yes.
but you're still gonna have something.
Okay.
Sure.
I withdraw my motion.
What, I'm sorry?
I withdraw the motion.
Okay, thank you. You mentioned that, Chief, about you're probably gonna hire 3 new guys this year, you think? You're gonna try to or whatever?
If I was an optimist, I would say I'd like to hire all the positions that I have empty.
Okay,
But being a realist, I know that that's hopeful.
yeah. Is there any adjustment that you have made to the 100 series salaries that might reflect that you're only thinking for 3?
No.
That's the bottom line of what you have in there now, or?
The full complement is what we have budgeted for, in
Okay.
hopes that we will.
Okay.
Again, you know, being a realist, I'm not sure that's gonna happen. I'm sure some of my neighboring police departments would really be upset if I was able to do all that, and they can't, but, yeah, that's just hoping. As you know, we had a position that we didn't replace. We replaced that position with a lower paid position.
Right.
That's reflected.
Okay.
And just for clarification, there's only 3 open in the budget, but
Correct.
he's saying currently, there's 5 open positions. So if you look on page 8, you'll only see open 1, 2, and 3. So just for clarity.
Okay, thank you. Move on to 700. $800. And that's it for the police, and this reflects a negative 0.58 decrease.
That's
Thank you,
correct.
Chief. Thank you, Commissioner, for that. Okay, where do we want to go now?
Communications,
Page 12.
communications proposed budget is $582,997 for an increase of $18,241 or 3.2%.
What page is it?
12. You're welcome.
Okay. 100 series. This is the same thing, Jim, whatever happens with the warrant article, this isn't the exact amount they're gonna get paid, depends on the warrant article, because they're part of the union also.
Correct, these are all union employees.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me.
Okay. 200 series. If you look at 220, Steve, that's where you'll see the social security line that you didn't see in the other budgets.
Makes sense.
New console, is that all installed and working and everything?
It won't be installed till the phase 3 is done.
Okay, thanks.
Mia, are all your positions filled now?
Yes.
And she reminds me of that all the time.
I was gonna put a little inflection in my voice, but I tried.
Okay, 300?
Question,
Yes, sir.
line 341,
There you go. Telephone.
I need to understand.
If I may, this is a little unusual. I've asked Mia Lyons to come in to answer questions directly about her budget.
Sure.
So
I'm
I
new at
asked
this
her to do
evening.
that.
Okay,
We have good news though, for you.
okay, but I guess my question is, the quantity of 12, is that the number of
12
people you have in the department?
That's 12
months.
12 months. Okay, so 1284 for phone lines and internet. 2022 was 6,700, 2023, 11,711, and then 2024, 5,760, so it's kind of all over the place. What's,
A lot of it is the communications company that we use.
the motion? There was no roll call vote, therefore that whole line of who voted for and who voted against is not valid. It didn't happen, and as far as I'm
Okay,
concerned,
you
the
wanna
minutes
strike
should-
that? You
the
wanna
minutes
strike
should
that?
reflect what actually happened in the meeting, and
So you
that
want to
did
strike that?
strike it.
Any objections to that? Any other corrections? All those in favor of approving the November 12th, 2024 minutes by, we don't change being the striking in the Economic Development Committee section, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?
I have to
So-
abstain, I wasn't there.
Yeah. Okay.
So am I just saying that the motion,
Motion passed
Fail?
with, no, the motion,
the
Just-
motion failed?
just change, we've changed it to, am I understanding, to a voice vote?
Correct. That's what I want to change it to. It was a voice vote. The voice vote caused the motion to fail.
Motion to fail, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Minutes of November 14th, 2024. Any changes you need to make?
I just see a clerical, on top of page 3, the Bo Betts' name, it looks like there's a comma. I mean, whatever that thing is.
I'm sorry, whereabouts, Casey?
Second paragraph, top right, Bo Betts, and then there's a apostrophe.
Oh, I think the yes is missing.
Something, or the front, Bo Betts.
Yeah, the yes is missing.
Oh.
Yeah,
Bob?
no, I was asking Leanne if she picked up on
Yeah, I don't know where she is.
this. Page 3.
Oh, right, yeah, to reflect road density.
Bo Betts' name on the first line of the second paragraph.
Yeah, that's how you spell it though.
BETZ? Well, I guess just the apostrophe's gotta go.
Okay, is there any member of the Budget Committee that wants to make that motion to remove the apostrophe?
Yes, I make the motion to move the apostrophe on paragraph 2 of page 3.
And is there a second? Second. Any other changes? Seeing none, all those are in favor of approving the minutes of November 14th, 2024 with that apostrophe removed, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, when's our next meeting? Let's see here.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Can we revisit the economic development? Or do you want to wait?
Revisit what?
I have we have the information that I asked for in terms of the ad for the Yankee magazine, and I'd like to readjust my motion.
Okay.
Oh, do you wanna do that now, or?
Jim, could you help me out on the page? Where we're
I
at?
can't, right off the top of my head.
Okay, thank you.
We'll get you there.
Thanks.
That's hooked up with planning, I think, right? Planning,
It's
economic
in the
development.
back of planning somewhere, like the back couple of pages. It's page 24 in the planning and zoning section.
Thank you, Casey.
You're welcome, and I think we're zoning in on 562 advertising, is that correct?
That is correct.
Logan?
562.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
We've received information, Leanne kindly sent me some stuff on the actuals for the Yankee ad that is going to be paid for. It wasn't on the 2024 actuals of $1,100, so if you look at the actuals for 2,700 and add 1,100, that makes it 3,800 for the actuals for 2024. Therefore, I would like to change line 562 to $4,000 rather than the $3,500 that I had originally requested.
Second.
Okay, discussion.
Is there any other breakdown as to how that $6,099 number came to?
think at one time they had a bunch of, ads they were gonna take out, and I think they didn't get around to getting them all in.
I think it's page 27 has a little explanation.
That is actually line 380.
Okay, so 380 is different than,
Yeah, you're looking at 562, right?
yeah.
Advertising. It seems to me if that's the cost of the ad, and that's gonna be the cost of the advertising, it makes sense to have that reflected in the budget.
Okay, does anyone have anything else they want to mention on this one before we vote? Okay, the motion is to decrease,
Increase.
no, it's decrease.
Increase.
Decrease
Oh.
line 562 to $4,000.
Correct.
Okay, this would be, this is gonna be a roll call vote. Leanne?
John McDonald,
No.
Brian Black,
Yes.
Bob Tupper,
Yes.
Tom Bell,
Yes.
Bob Mulholland,
Yes.
Matt Plash,
Yes.
Bob Lohman,
Yes.
Steve Johnson,
Yes.
Brian DeShays.
No.
Okay, motion passes. So line 562 is now $4,000. So we've got to subtract $2,099 from the bottom line.
That's correct.
New number, is that it?
$11,640.
Okay. Okay, does anyone have anything else?
One thing quick, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
nothing to do with budget. The 30th of November will be the third annual toy drive for the Wolfeboro Children's Christmas Fund, which is associated with Wolfeboro Police Department. I do that. I've done that every year for the last 2 years, and we're gonna continue to do that. So if anyone wants to donate a toy, it's at the Wolfeboro train station on the 30th, 12 to 4.
If you
That
can't
big
make
white
it,
fire truck.
if you can't make it that day, can you drop it off?
You
at
can
the
drop it off, please.
police station?
Absolutely. Donations or anything like that.
Thank you, Howard. I see someone in the audience. Member of the public, do you have any questions for us?
I do not. I just moved here a couple of months ago, so I just wanted to
Thank you so much for coming, I really appreciate it.
thank you. I learned a lot. I appreciate it.
Okay, I guess everyone have a happy Thanksgiving, and if I can get a motion to adjourn in a second?
I'll make the second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Yeah, you jumped on that.
Thank you very much.
That's a great jump.